well tonight.
Yeah, it's absolutely like cracking start. Also, the fact that we're starting an hour and 10 minutes later than we originally planned. So, good on us. Welcome to Catching Out. As always, really disorganized and just loving life as always. And we are obviously.
My mic during the intro this time, though.
I am proud of you guys for doing that. You did manage to mute your mic, but hey.
No, I didn't mute my mic. I was living in fear the whole time, and I nearly cracked up when it looked like there was an error at one point, and I nearly lost it.
Oh, there was an error. I clicked on the wrong scene.
Nice, that's what happened.
So yeah, saying we're rusty is probably an understatement at this point. But well, yeah, welcome to Catching Out. We will be discussing Euros. I don't even know how to preface this, but this is one of 4 episodes you'll be getting on YouTube or in your Spotify downloads for podcasts. But hey, you're going to have plenty of content to listen to, as well as the fact that EDF are doing loads of podcasts as well, and Neutral Zone have put theirs out. So if you want Dodgeball content, now is the time to get into Dodgeball.
Basically, Nick cheated on us, and he's coming back because he realised we were better. I did in trouble.
I did my international duty when I got asked to do something.
England never called him up to do it. So.
Yeah. Oh, Colin, that hurts. The truth really cuts. Wow. Right. Okay. Anyway. Euros, we're going to be discussing the men's side of the competition in this episode. So without further ado, we'll get straight into it. If you want to know any other discussion around the Euros, we will have a dedicated podcast just to discuss the non-dodgeball side or the other side of what happened at Euros other than the actual results. So yeah, let's crack on and go straight into the men's pools and the results of the men's pools. So for our audio listeners, you're going to really enjoy me narrating this like it is the English shipping forecast. We have in Pool A, Czechia in first with 4 wins, Italy second with 3 wins, Belgium... I can't keep it together, Colin.
What? Specifically the English shipping forecast.
You know, the BBC Radio 4, you know what I'm talking about. This is like...
I'm not in my 80s. Nor was even born in the 80s.
I'm gonna have to cut this out because this is so crazy. But anyway, right, yeah. So for our audio listeners, our results were as followed. For Pool A, Czechia topped the group in first place with 4 wins. Italy second with 3 wins. Belgium third with 2 wins. Denmark fourth with 1 win, and Croatia at the bottom with 0 wins. Pool B, England topped, winning all their games. France second, Scotland third, Hungary fourth, and Norway fifth. Again, each losing 1 more match than the team above them. In Pool C, it gets interesting because Austria won all their games and finished top. But then there was a 3-way tie with Switzerland, Wales, and Netherlands, all on 2 wins, and Serbia at the bottom with 0. And Pool D, Northern Ireland at the top, Sweden second, Spain third, and Republic of Ireland in fourth.
To clarify, for Pool C, Switzerland came second, Wales came third, and Netherlands came fourth.
Yes, yeah. So in that 3-way tie, yeah, Switzerland were the qualifiers. So yeah, just to go over the summary of how the draw works is in the pools, if you finish top 2, you are through to the quarterfinals, so you are guaranteed top 8 position. If you finish third, you go into a playoff for 9th through 12th. And if you finish, I can't remember how it works, but there was then another playoff with the 4th and 5th teams. I think all 5th place teams played in a playoff for
Robin.
Yeah, so a 3-way tournament. For is it to 19th, 17th, 18th, and 19th place, and then the middle ones were done by the 4 teams. So top 2 is what we're looking at here, really. But then the other results that came out of each group. Thoughts, Colin?
Oh God. Do we want to do this pool by pool?
Yeah,
let's do
sure. Let's
it.
go. Pool A.
Pool A was the two teams I expected to go through definitely went through. I wasn't expecting Czechia to turn up and be as strong as they were in the group. Their main competition at the end of the day was Italy. Had a very good game, very tight game. I think it was 2, maybe 3 sets in it. The throw-in from the Czechia men was very strong. On their single ball throws. What is happening?
I'm trying to get it together for audio listeners.
So am I. It's not working. But yeah, basically the throwing game for Czechia was far too strong for Italy to handle. I would love to have seen what would happen because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I was watching, I think Italy had a completely separate set of men for the mix as they did the men's division. I would have been really interested to see what would have happened if they had a couple of the mixed men kind of come in for the men's division games because they seem to be missing that something a bit snappy coming back at them. They obviously gave Czechia a really good game. It was very close, but yeah, I think overall the best team won in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's one of those interesting questions with those mixed teams when you put like, I guess, development squad, as it were, in mixed team, and you let a sort of lower ability team into your mix, is sometimes those lower ability players that you put in that team might have not necessarily a lower ability, but a slightly different skill set to what you're normally using in your team. And so when you want that versatility, maybe you don't have it. But I actually don't know off the top of my head whether or not Italy entered even more players than they actually played on that men's team. I know a lot of countries did that where they sort of had maybe 8 players on paper that were playing for their men, but on the actual official guides they entered all 12. So I don't know, but either way, it's an interesting matchup. I think it's tricky to say why we underestimated Czech Republic. They showed really good results in Austrian League, which is the only place that we could really look at them before this. Is that Dodgeball Storm D Storm Bruno B Storm D Storm Bruno, the Czech club team. That was basically the national team that won Austrian leagues. That should have been an early sign that the Czech Republic was going to be really good. And yet I think still there's something about Italy where like we're so used to seeing them win things pretty easily, or not win overall, but kind of saw through the group stages that it was surprising to see them drop to Czech Republic, and not only do it once but twice because they replayed again, didn't they?
Yeah. I think they also. Like Italy, they put a few players into like some of their older players that maybe retiring in the next couple of years into their. If we're saying mix was development, it's kind of hard to say it was development with some of the experience that they had in there. But it meant that maybe as a national squad, some of the link up wasn't there and the chemistry wasn't there in the team. But they played really well. That Czechia Italy game was really good. Like Italy came out of the blocks pretty well, but then Czechia just clawed it back and were their catching was solid. Like some of the catches that they made, there was like some scenes in that game where I think there was so I've got it here. So Sikora makes a catch by doing a dodge, and then as he's getting back up, because he does a dodge where he hits the deck, and he's getting back up after being faked, and as he's getting back up, makes the catch. And then, like, straight after that, Arasi does, like, a ricochet jump off the court catch. Like, literally the next throw. So, like, that game had the wildest catches in all the way around. But I think Czechia were just a little bit more organised and a little less disoriented with some of their calling. Like, there were times where Italy had like half their team up the court and some people coming back. Like, there was one moment where I think a ball retriever gave a player a ball at the back of court, and the other two were like pressed up at the front ready to make a throw, and this guy just like runs all the way from the back of the court, and it's like absolutely no like disguise whatsoever of who's going to be throwing that ball. He just runs up to the front, throws the ball, and gets back, and it's like Italy last year probably wouldn't have done that. And I think Czechia are, you know, they're a good enough team to deal with things like that. So when stuff like that is happening in your team, you know, at this level where you got to like sustain such a high focus, you know, that teams are going to like chip away at it, and they're gonna win the sets when you do things like that, and you can't really put a foot wrong, especially when this came down to I think 3 sets in the end. Like, you know, Czechia really just ground out those sets, and it was really good to play for them, to be fair.
Yeah, fully agree.
Also, in this group, shout out to Denmark for managing to win on their debut at least one match. That's pretty much, if not pretty much unheard of, completely unheard of. I'd have to double check it. I know Will was shouting his own praises somewhat. Going around saying it's the first time that anyone's ever won a group stage match in their debut, which sounds like a correct fact, but I haven't checked it. So if I'm wrong, no, I'm not. It's Will's fault.
The very first tournament, everybody would have debuted in some.
Yeah.
So yeah, Will, you're wrong.
Yeah, boy.
well, actually, Colm, the first ever tournament wasn't a Euros; it was a Six Nations. So.
But then it wasn't a Euros.
There would have been a Euros at some point.
So that's the first ever Euros was still
bigger. Does that mean that technically we've never had a Euros without a women's division because Six Nations was when we didn't have women's?
That's an interesting question, to be fair.
I mean, I'd say yeah, but anyway. Yeah, so Pool A was on a technicality. But yeah, Denmark beating Croatia, that was a really good game to watch as well, actually. I think Croatia, as we'll talk about in the other pod about mixed, definitely put out a weaker team for their men's, which was inverse of what a few other people did. So like we said, Italy put out a development team for mixed. Croatia definitely put out a weaker team for their men's and their women's, and they did very well in their mixed. But it did feel like when I was watching that Denmark-Croatia game, I was, you know, wanted Denmark to win from a sense of it's their first time here and you want to see them put out a good show. But it was just like, Denmark played well, but at times it was a case of like, just don't throw this away. Please don't throw this away. Don't do something stupid. Please don't do something. Like, it was constantly like that watching it. Got some really great players on that team. Really good arms. Just like some of their awareness and just I guess gelling as a team and playing at this level. It's a difficult thing to do, which is why.
Also, I think they lost their captain right before.
Oh really?
Euros. I think they had a major injury. I remember Will texting me and basically being like, shit.
I just hope that's the only thing he sent. He was just shit.
There's no context.
Any context?
Because we've been talking about the live stream, because obviously I tried to make sure that good matches were live streamed. And so the matches where teams weren't expected to necessarily be battered were being live streamed. So obviously like the Denmark-Croatia match was being live streamed. And I think the Denmark-Belgium match was the other live streamed match that Denmark got. But yeah, basically we've been talking about that, and then he'd been very confident about how many matches his team was going to win, and then he'd sent me a message being like, our captain just got really badly injured. So I don't know if that ends up...
Make sure to mention this on the board.
Yeah, if I got a euro for every time someone said, make sure you mention this on the pod while we were out there, like I would have been able to afford my flights back.
I don't know if you went through the DMs during Euros as well, but there was definitely a few sent in as well to UNT.
I feel like every time we got a prediction wrong, someone would come up to me like, ooh, did you notice you got that wrong? I was like, yes, because it's a sport and we can't get things right 100% of the time. I don't know what you expect.
Yes, because whenever I set Nick my predictions, I was hungover.
Yeah, I had a migraine.
I forgot about that.
Just like full disclosure, like anyone who's like listening to this first time thinking that like these guys know what they're talking about. No, we don't. We're 3 people who enjoy watching dodgeball and just decided to pick up a microphone and go, hey, someone's got to do
switch
it.
Off.
I remember you seeing Nick posting the predictions graphics, because this was obviously like a month after we'd actually recorded the episode, and I saw him post the predictions graphics, and I was like, what did I say was going to happen? Why would I have said that?
So many regrets. And also getting like information fed into us like the week before of like injuries and people who aren't fully fit, and I was just like, God, I would have changed so much.
Yeah. Like the amount of things is like, oh, withhold your gossip from us until after we made our predictions, and then tell us and be like, mate, you got it all wrong. And it's like, well, fucking tell us then. Like,
honestly, it was incredible. It was incredible. Even before the pod was released, the amount of stuff we got in between that period. Like, I was sitting there going, like, we're gonna look like idiots.
I mean, it's been so long. Like,
Well,
we're currently recording this at the end of November. The last time we sat down to record was the end of August. Like, there was just a little bit of time has passed. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
That is kind of nuts. But anyway, Pool B, right? So England topping it, and I think
who saw that coming?
I know, crazy, crazy scenes. Oh, that's just so mean to all the other teams. But
yeah, but, you know.
Yeah, fair enough. The Scotland-France battle was good. I'll keep it on point. Don't worry. The Scotland-France game, very interesting game. I was talking to Colin before we jumped on and recorded that game, like Scotland, and we'll get onto the Scotland-Wales game later. But like Scotland seem like a very level team. They don't have like too many like hype men on that team. So when they're having to like bring themselves up, there were times where they were like, you know, really pumped up and really screaming. Then it was straight back down to like, you know, right, we got a job to do, which is fine. But like sometimes you kind of just need that energy on court to like continue going, like, you know, get the counters up court. And it just felt like maybe only one or two players really felt that. Whereas the others were, you know, still like, oh, we've got a job to do, and they weren't really fully awake. And, you know, France fully took advantage of that. Their catching, France was fantastic during that game, really made a difference. And they were really good on their standing counters and running counters as well. So France fully deserved. Bizarre watching that French team, to be honest, all the way through, because like as a bunch of players, they feel like, or at least from the outside perspective, the most like patchwork team of abilities ever. Fair. But it works. So who am I to say anything?
Really, I'll tell you what. Vincent had a hell of a tournament. From the few games I've seen, he was.
Is that his like retirement tournament as well? Is he retiring?
Idea. If he's retired on that, he's retired an absolute zero, because he had a hell of a tournament. Like, that is the best I've seen him. I've played him a couple of times for Ireland. He was always like a big threat.
Yeah.
But his throw was incredible. It's just his presence on court. He had everybody scared of him. Like, yeah, you had to 9 times out of 10, he was getting out by at least taking somebody out with him, and he just caught up court, or they were having to throw multiple balls at him. He had such a good tournament. He really impressed me I watched a few of his games and just came away looking at it, just going like, that man had done incredible. He pulled off some sick plays.
It's just a good group in general. I feel like it's still somewhat disappointing that this didn't end up being like Pool C, in the sense that like it feels as if Hungary could have taken it to France and Scotland, and the scorelines somewhat reflect that. They're not as close as you'd think, but I think it's always tricky when you're pushing for sets at the end of a game. It kind of skews the scoreline a bit. But it was a good group, and like Norway obviously got a little bit battered by some of their teams. Like that 44-0 scoreline against England I'm looking at right now is not super fun. And I remember being on the sidelines photographing that. And to be fair to Norway, they played that entire game with a smile on their faces, because that's what you can do.
100%. Like Norway were great.
Love that.
Such lovely people. So happy all. They just seemed happy to be there. It was really nice. But no, I mean, they held their own. The Scotland-Norway match is 25-11 as a scoreline here, which is pretty damn good for a match against Scotland. It's not bad in your debut. It's not the easiest group to debut into, and it's
that's
an
Norway group.
Yeah,
like watching back a few of the games, like Hungary were just a step below Scotland and France. I feel like tactically, France and Scotland were just a far whack ahead of Hungary. But ability-wise, they're only a step below. And I feel like on another day, Scotland definitely could have beaten France in the game as well. I think, like Nick said, they weren't able to raise their energy levels a bit more because I think that's where they would have beaten France, is just by playing that quick game. Yeah. I feel like that would have been more in their favor, whereas they tried to play that more controlled game that they were probably used to at that stage, because I know a lot of them would have played that kind of style at club level.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very good game. Definitely recommend watching it back.
I think Hungary as well, just thinking about it this year compared to last year, the advice for going against Hungary in the groups, I can't remember whether it was France to Scotland or Scotland to France, whoever it was who played them second, got the advice of, oh no, Scotland to Switzerland. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which order it was. Basically, one team's advice to the other team before playing Hungary was, these two players are the good players. Get them out, and you're fine. And it didn't feel, watching Hungary this time around, that you could say that about their team. That there wasn't like two players who stood out head and shoulders above the rest. It felt like the rest of the pack within that team had caught up to the two particularly good players. And if I couldn't have told you, just staring at that team, knowing that there have been two good players, I still remember which ones they were, but like, if I'd watched them play this time around, knowing that there were meant to be two particularly good players, I wouldn't have been able to pick them out, because it was quite an even level playing field across the Hungarian team, which is really good to see, that like the level's kind of risen to that, and that they're all kind of, it's much more stable. You want that in a national team. You don't want a couple star players. You want everyone to be roughly the same level, so that way you can't just get a couple of people out and absolutely
you want a squad.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
That's kind of what I'm getting at really badly, is that Hungary looked a lot more like a squad this time around, and that's really good to see.
It's a shock to everyone that dodgeball's actually a team sport.
Yeah. No, you stop it right now, sir.
If you didn't know, it's just like pure chaos. You just pick up a ball and run to the front. I totally agree. I just want to say, like, about going back to Norway, like one of the most wonderful squads to come into Euros. They were absolutely lovely being there. Their reffing, the effort they put into reffing, the attention they paid during all of their like times that they were line reffing, 10 out of 10. One of the best teams doing it throughout the entire competition, I may say. Like, just
Love
from
to hear that.
Just watching honestly. On the side. Yeah, like 100%. They played really well, had a great attitude about it, and lovely people. And they played some solid dodgeball. We'll get on to Serbia in a minute, but like they knew the tactics. They knew what tactics they needed to. They clearly learned that from Worlds. But they played solidly, like genuinely really, really impressive first outing. And I'd say they are further ahead of where Spain were when Spain joined, and we'll talk about Spain later. But sky's the limit. Euros is getting hella competitive at the moment. So just because you're joining now does not mean you're that late to the party. The trajectory upwards is very doable. I just want to say, like, we didn't mention it in Group A, but Belgium coming third. Congratulations! Like, that is such an improvement on last year. Like, it's really good going. Massive pat on the back to you guys for doing that, and the effort you guys have put into to get there. Like two wins in Group A, and being able to finish in the top 12, fully well deserved. Fully well deserved. So I just wanted to shout that out here as well. But yeah, Pool C. Austria topping the group, and then we got the crazy three-way tie with Switzerland topping it, Wales, and then Netherlands. Just to explain, so that people who have looked at this and gone, what on earth has happened? The rules for sorting out a three-way tie is it only takes into account the set difference for matches played against each other. Reason being, in this scenario, like you see, is Switzerland, Wales, and Netherlands are above Serbia. What they don't want to happen in Euros is a new team like Serbia to come in and get absolutely trounced for the sake of set difference, so that one of them can finish at the top. Because really, if you're going to finish at the top of a three-way tie, you should have done best against the other people in that three-way tie. And I think that's a very fair way to do it.
Ironically, it's probably Ireland and Switzerland that caused that rule to be brought in after the Italy Euros. Oh God.
Yep. But anyway, that's how it is. And Switzerland, Wales, and Netherlands all getting one win against each other and beating Serbia, and then Austria topping it. So I think the tie went Switzerland beat Netherlands, Netherlands beat Wales, and Wales beat Switzerland. Yep. Was the trio. Fantastic way around to do it. Really interesting. Thoughts on Pool C?
My favorite match probably in the men's group is in this, and I'm 100% biased because I'm Swiss, but like the Austria-Switzerland match in the groups was so good, and I fully have to eat my cap because in one of the Swiss national trainings at the end of it, when I was heading back, then I was at the train station with Ludo, who's one of the Swiss guys, and like he was talking my ear off about the fact that the guys had this plan against Austria, and that he was more confident in the concept of maybe beating Austria than he was in beating Wales. And I was laughing at that because I was like, why would you ever think that you can beat Austria but you might not be able to beat Wales? Like, why are you so confident in beating Austria? And then they actually played that match, and the entire way through, they were either drawing with Austria or one set behind the whole way through the match. They never slipped more than that. The final score, they're only one set behind. Like it was an insanely tense match, and they played really well against Wales as well. They lost it by 2 sets in the end. But the match against Austria, Jesus Christ, it's such a good match considering like historically how good Austria have been and historically how good the Swiss have been. That is huge from Switzerland to come up that well, and like they played so good. It was such a good match. Super proud of them, and I feel very bad for laughing at Ludo now. And I know he's gonna
get your revenge. There you go. You got it clipped, so you can put it all over TikTok.
All over the Swiss Instagram account.
That was a great game to watch. I've watched it back since then because we arrived I think midway through that game, unfortunately.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to be. No offense, I didn't expect it to be that good. Full offense to my own team.
Yeah, it was incredible. Austria didn't get the lead until one set before half time, where it was 8-6, I think. Yeah. Up until that point, Switzerland came out firing. And I won't lie, watching it back, Austria did seem half asleep for the first few sets. Like, they were not switched on. Switzerland were up for it. They were getting all their covering shots. Like, I would say trades, but like Austria were missing, so it's not a trade. It was just straight up getting, covering a player and getting the hits. It was fantastically well played. Fair play to Austria for clawing it back, and they had a heavy rotation in their players as well. But Switzerland played incredible. Some of the catches the Swiss men played court were just absolute filth. Was like up front in the neutral zone making catches, dropping to knees and stuff like that. It was just really, really well played by Switzerland. Fully deserved that scoreline, I reckon.
And the others also played. Anyway, Pool D.
Can we just give a shout out to Serbia, please? One quick, other new nation.
Properly, I just.
No, hold on. I'll be a bit cruel here. In that Wales definitely should have done better in their games. I'll be brutally honest. Like they should have beaten both Switzerland and Netherlands. Like in terms of the not just like the ability wise, but it was just some awful decision making happening. Like it felt like even whenever they were up, they were still chasing a set, and they're just being so open and silly fishing, and like throwing away balls unnecessarily, like trying to get cheeky snipes here and there. Like I was just watching it going. They were just throwing away the games. They could have been in complete control, and it wasn't like them.
That Netherlands game was just like a prime example of that, where it was like it was the last game on Friday, right? So everyone's absolutely shot tired.
Yeah.
But it's a really important game. Like Wales win that, they're in.
Yeah.
Like they're into the quarters.
Yeah.
And they played it, and like they just looked like a bunch of individuals playing at times. Like they had 4 balls quite regularly because Netherlands were giving it. The top tip Netherlands ball retention, but they got away with it because Wales were just going, all right, well the 2 people on the right will go throw at the right wing, and then as they did that, then the left wing would come up from Netherlands, and then the left winger would just throw at them, and then now Netherlands got 4 balls, and they would just give away and Netherlands were dodging, they were getting out the way, and they were hitting a very tired Welsh team in the end. Like it just sort it out.
It is. No, to be fair, it is fair to say that it probably was exhaustion that kind of kicked in for the Wales squad. But I just think that if somebody needed to lead that team and just bring in the discipline and the control into the game, which I've seen from Wales countless times, and there isn't a lot of like new people that were doing it. Like it was some of the more experienced players that were, as Nick said, playing as an individual rather than than a team. I think at that moment they just needed to step up and go, no, this is our game. Play it controlled, make the hits, and just survive. And they just weren't doing that. Like their heads wasn't screwed on. That's what cost them in the end.
I mean, as a squad, they had a very emotional Euros up to that point. Like the absolute stress on all those players. Like with what happened in the women's, with what happens in the mix. Like
Wales had a hell of a ride in Euros.
Like I think, in terms of their expectations that they set upon themselves, how well they played at times and how absolutely dismal they played at other times. Like, talk about a roller coaster. Like Gollum and I were talking about this, comparing Scotland and Wales in terms of like how they handle themselves on court, like polar opposites. Wales are like full emotion, give it everything you got, and if something goes wrong, heads are down. And Scotland are like, nothing will faze me, right? And like sometimes that works in your favour and sometimes it doesn't, and it goes both sides. And just like absolutely nuts. But I would have thought Wales did better. I also thought Netherlands were going to do a bit better, I'll be honest. They got that win against Wales because they play kind of solidly and they had good rotation. But I think they had a separate. No, they didn't have a separate men's, women's, and mix. They did have a combined mix, didn't they? But their men seemed more rested. I think they had more men's players in general to rotate through. So, they're getting there. They're getting there as a squad, I think. They're like tactically, they've got some good players coming through. They just need to dodge a bit better at times, I think. I think they just get a bit lazy on track backs. Not in terms to be critical, but just like you're nearly there. Like you just got to, if you dodge a few stray shots here and there, you've got to win those sets and grind them out, because your group throws are incredible. The catching you guys were making and the decision making on catching was fine. It was just the odd times there was just a lazy dodge here and there, I thought, personally.
I think that's all fair. 100% right, though, to point out like there is an issue to do with individualism on the Welsh squad, and it feels like occasionally that's partly what lets them down, where there's moments where they really need to band together and play one like team and one style of dodgeball for just a moment, and switch from whatever style they were doing before to a different style. And it's in those moments that it just feels as if 4 of them will change and 2 of them will do exactly what they were doing for the last 10 minutes. That still hasn't been working, and it's tricky there. It's tricky to know what to do as a coach in that situation. I'm sure the Welsh coaches are aware of it. I'm sure they've noticed it before. It's not a new problem, I would say, with the Welsh squad. It's just becoming more obviously a problem because other teams are now capable of dealing with it. Like the Netherlands have stepped up well enough to be able to deal with those specific players that aren't changing their style of dodgeball and aren't switching it up. And because they now know how to deal with them and they know that they're not going to change their style, then that means they know that they've got that player for the entire game if they've got it like that. Yeah. So it's just becoming more apparent because other teams are stepping up, I think, is the thing.
100%. That middle block, you'll probably hear us talk about it in all 4 episodes, is getting tight. Like they're in all 3 competitions, the ability of different nations that are coming up that have been around for like 4 or 5 years now, like everyone's having to up their game. So yeah, no, definitely agree. Did you want to say something? Because I was just going to mention about Serbia, Colin.
No, work away.
So like, love Serbia. Like absolutely loved Serbia when they were there. I managed to speak to Milos, who was their like captain/coach. I understand like, they were fairly last minute thrown together team. Some of those players have played for like 2 weeks. And when I say 2 weeks, that might be like a session a week, so twice. So understanding the rules, tactics, all that, completely new to them. But in terms of like seeing the growth throughout the tournament of how they adapted, they learnt to play as a team a bit more. They had implemented some kind of a calling system by the end of the tournament. They understood the phases of play. Like they just had a real great attitude in both their men's and mixed, and I really loved seeing that. Like it's a bit like how Spain came to mixed, and they were like, they good sports, really energetic, wanted to talk, wanted to learn, and treated everyone fairly and equally. In Serbia, the Serbian team, you saw that as well, and you saw them really care about it as well, like really get passionate about wanting to do well at times, like not in a way that they'd be like, oh, when something goes around, their heads were down and it was all really, really bad, but like they genuinely, like when something went well, they really loved it for each other and they were really supportive, and it just, really heartwarming. That's why we love dodgeball, I know, but like I absolutely love seeing them, and it was great to speak to Miloš, lovely guy, and it sounds like you got a good setup starting there in Serbia, so can't wait to see you guys in the next coming years. But yeah, really big shout out. You take the piss, but this is what we love about Euros. This is why we love Euros.
That's really nice to hear, and to hear that there's players coming after like pretty much like 2 sessions to one of the top tournaments you can enter. Like, fair play. I would have had the balls to do it. If you're telling me like 2 sessions after months that I would have had to play for Ireland, oh my god, I'd run a mile.
What do you mean about playing international dodgeball not hungover?
Oh my god. What do you mean you don't drink after every time you're hit out? What?
You crazy people.
What is this game?
But Pool D, the only group of 4 in the men's, Northern Ireland topping it with Sweden 2nd, Spain 3rd, and Ireland 4th, or Republic of Ireland 4th. I want to say it was one of the more straightforward groups, to be perfectly honest.
You're okay, Colin.
No, I'm not.
Speak to your woes.
Right, I'll get my rant out of the way. I looked at that squad beforehand, and
for who? For who? Sorry, for who? Which squad?
For Ireland.
Republic of, right?
But Republic of Ireland. And I like the balance of the squad on paper, I'll be honest. And I still think that Ireland squad should have definitely come 3rd. Probably should have come 2nd, but I felt like the players that were playing between mixed and men's were not handled in the best way in terms of keeping their energy levels up in the big games. It's personal opinion. God, I'm going to get in so much shit for this. I felt like in terms of the rotations, the substitutions, that they weren't really combating the issues that they were coming up against. Because there's some really good players in that squad, and they definitely should be playing to a better level than what was shown on court. I felt like they weren't playing their usual tactics that I've known for as long as I've played for Ireland. So yeah, I'll be honest. This Euros was a very bitter pill to swallow. Watching my squad struggle wasn't very nice viewing.
That Spain game was painful. That was.
Mate. I think I was texting you during it, and I was just like, I don't know how much I could watch of it.
It was watching it and seeing players like put their heads in their hands, knowing that they should have won that set, or they shouldn't have done that, and they're just like, what are we doing? And it's like, yeah, what are you doing? Like, it was infuriating. Like, they had the better ability of Spain, but Spain were just a bit more consistent. They didn't make as many stupid mistakes.
Massively, yeah. And the similar issues that we've pointed out for Wales is there for Ireland. It really felt like 6 individuals on court for the men. For the mixed and women's, it was different issues, but for the men, it really always felt like 6 individuals on court, and the unison that I was used to whenever I was training with them just didn't look like it was there. I just think that they really need to work on that understanding with each other on court and getting the decision making and the timings down to a T. Because that used to be their bread and butter. Like, we used to train for like 6 hours of making sure that you know, I knew like Rob Kearns and Dave Cardoso and Garv like the back of my hand. I knew everything that they were going to be doing, so I could adjust my game to back them up and get the most out of them. I never felt like that was there with them, like in any of the men's games that I watched. It was I'll be honest, it was very painful to watch.
It's not even like on ability wise they deserve to be last.
That's what I mean.
But like, like ability wise, they're solid ability around the board. Just like, anyone who says dodgeball,
fantastic tournament. Dave Cardoso had a fantastic tournament. He was making hits and catches left, right, and center, but there were like he was the only one that was consistent throughout the tournament in both mixed and men's.
It does take a team to win a match, like a squad. 100%. Like, you know, if you listen to this thing, you probably come across dodgeball before. But if you some straggler who's found it here on the internet, and you're just like, what are these guys talking about dodgeball? Crazy. Your introduction is that there is. I mean, some of the recommendations that people get to our YouTube videos on is hilarious. But like it is a team sport. You have to play as a team. There is like you can have 6 really talented players, but if you're not covering players, if you're not throwing as a unit, like you can be picked apart very easily by players quite substantially below your standard, because a ball hitting you is the most. It brings you down to earth very quickly.
there was even simple things that I've seen with Ireland sometimes where that like if they weren't throwing, they weren't even faking. Like it was even basic stuff like that. Like I've seen a few times. I'm just sat there going, "What are you doing? Put some effort in, please." Like, and don't get me wrong. Like, I'm being overly critical because of my frustration of seeing it, but I know there's so much more there. Like I know pretty much everybody on that squad on a personal basis, and I know what they're capable of. And I've seen it in the past like 12 months for the majority of them, what they're capable of. I was just sat there going like, I would love to see more. I would love for them to perform at the levels that I know that they can show.
100%. On the other side of it, Spain did well to capitalise on it. They were a solid team.
100%. Yeah, they did very little wrong in that game, realistically.
Yep. And it shows the depth of that national squad. You know, knowing what they did in mix. Go listen to our mix podcast. But you know, knowing that they can do that and then still do a good solid showing in the men's as well. Very impressive. Love to see it. And Sweden, full credit to them, the men's team. We knew last year they had it in them to throw in upsets because they took England really close I think it was in the quarters last year, but this year they've earned their second place there. Very deservingly, very solid squad. Should we go on to predictions? Predictions, results.
Yeah, results.
I say results. This is like the quarter-final results. So for our audio listeners, we'll try and go through this and pick through as we can, but you might want to watch on YouTube for this. So what we're seeing here is you can see our predictions left to right. So myself, Zoe, then Colm, and then what team actually got there. So what team finished top of the pool, second of the pool or whatever, and then who won the game after that. So for example, the first match is first in A against the second of B, and we had all predicted Italy were going to play Scotland, and my days we got that incredibly wrong because it was Czechia v France. Two completely different teams. So this just shows you how little we know about Euros dodgeball, apparently. I will say now, just so that people are aware, in terms of accuracy, total accuracy for men's, in last place, Colm got 60% of the predictions correct. And then Zoe and I tied at 66%.
That's horrible. I hate that.
So we got 10 out of 15. So 15 matches, or at least 15 positions to get right. So that's who finished top and who finished second of each group, and then who won those games. So,
is that the total across all three?
No, that's the total across just the men's.
Just men's.
Across all across all three, Zoe and
Oh no,
I.
because you got NI and you got Sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You both got one more right than me. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. So across all of them, Zoe and I drew at 64% each. So 29 out of
That's horrible.
45.
I hate that.
29 out of
You got
45.
you got one more right than me. Let's not pick this up to be.
No. And Colin, you're at 57.7, so you got 26 out of 45. So you only want to end in the 50s there, but
To be fair, to give all of us credit here, if you like swap over Italy and Czech,
Yeah, I was going to
Czechia,
say the
like,
thing
it's
with
not
that
as bad as it looks.
you're saying like the total like the positions, which isn't the same as like individual matches. If we'd individually
Yeah.
predicted every single match, our prediction rate would have been higher than that. Like because
Yeah.
there's a lot of obvious easy matchups that you can pretty much guess 100% correctly most of the time. It's just one or two little results here and there that then throw that prediction off slightly.
The France one I never seen coming though.
Yeah.
Never would have predicted that.
Yeah. I'm still massively impressed by them for that. That's pretty huge for them.
massive. Yeah, played really well. Getting all the way to the semis. Yeah, Sweden doing a good job against Austria, 22-12. I mean, the quarterfinals were pretty much a bit of a wash all the way through. Quite dominant wins for each team. It's also worth saying, right, we've got the scores up. We're at 20-minute halves. So compared to years past, there are more sets that have been played. Just about because of this 30-second.
Yeah, because of I was about to say that kind of it's like what, one or two more sets.
Yeah, I think
realistically
on average.
Yeah.
But I think it gives if you can speed through the sets, it gives that opportunity to compound them more. Like a 22-10 win isn't heard of that often in half an hour matches. But yeah, pretty unilateral across the board. France doing really well against Czechia, Austria, Northern Ireland and England all comfortably getting through to the semis. So do we just want to jump onto the semis? And I'll probably highlight the Northern Ireland England game, because that was the final last year. We did all predict this to happen in the semis, and we all predicted the right winner, but my God, I did not see it happening in that fashion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Northern Ireland were fucking incredible.
They were insane, on fire.
What was the score at halftime again?
It was like 12-0, wasn't it?
Yeah. Something insane like
12-0 or 12-2. I can't remember who won
the
final set to decide it, but Ed and I were so clear. If you want to like teach a team how to play dodgeball right now, and I've said this to the worker bees as I'm their coach. I said just watch NI versus England, like clinical dodgeball. The throw-in's accurate, their dodging's incredible, their utilization of the core is insane. Like it's just everything was perfect. The decision making, the backing up of each other. Like if somebody goes after one of the NI boys, there's another guy right in their opposition's face within a millisecond. Like it's insane to watch, and they'll be really, really difficult to beat. And whenever I was talking about the preview, I could not flip. I was flipping a coin basically between Austria and NI for the final, but NI raised the game, and they showed it against England especially. Like they can just control the game so well, and I'd love to see what it'll take to beat them. I really would. I'm really excited to see more games with NI in the future, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like everything you just said, 100% correct. I think the thing that always stands out to me watching NI compared to maybe England in particular is just the level of team play that they've got. They just move as one fluid motion, and it's really impressive. And you watch it and you're just like, that is literally, as you said, it's perfect dodgeball. It's you watching it and you're like, I don't understand how you can just fluidly move like that and know each other that well that you know exactly that there's going to be someone there behind you backing you up at that point, and that you can do everything you're doing with complete confidence because your team is there to help you and is working that way. Like it's such a huge level of teamwork on that team. And I'm kind of surprised that it still works even with like some new additions. Like I think other podcasts have pointed out, Sam Lav had a really good tournament.
Yeah,
But
I
he's
did.
not played for NI before. And so I kind of, if you'd asked me on paper before the tournament how I thought Sam Lav would have done, I would have thought he'll do all right, but he won't have that team cohesion. And he did. He fit in so well. And that whole team didn't seem to like suffer in any way teamwork wise from having new
No,
additions.
what I think happened with Sam Lav is that he was able to just play his game and he was
Yeah.
protected at all times, and that
Yeah.
worked so well, and it made him play better and get
I
into
was
the
gonna say,
game a
I
lot
don't think I've ever
quicker.
seen him play that well.
No, he's absolutely. Whenever he was allowed to just do free reign, like
Yeah.
he done really really well. But it's that level of protection the
Yeah.
wingers and NI give each other. Like it's so good, and their survivability compared to any other team in the European stage is insane to me. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean the game itself, like Northern Ireland came out absolutely screaming, very very aggressive. Absolutely took the game to England. A lot of double throws. I think Neutral Zone summed it up quite well. I think with their explaining that they had a lot of in England, the two biggest teams at the moment, two top teams, Lutterworth Meteors and Spartans. When they play each other, it's quite a cagey affair. There are a lot of singles that get thrown. They want to chip away at them, and then it sort of loosens up as the game comes along. And Northern Ireland were like, nope, screw it, double throws, we're getting you out. And that's what they did. Like they just absolutely took the game to England and got a really healthy lead. And it's a bit like the Newcastle semi-final when Northern Ireland beat them. Northern Ireland got to a healthy lead and England really had to fight back. Complete opposite to the final from last year, but just really well played by Northern Ireland. It was an incredible game to watch, and it was one of those ones where I missed the first half because I was in the other sports hall taking photos, but came into it, saw the score, I was like, what on earth has happened here? Like, just the absolute shock of being like, you blink, you've missed a game and it's only half time. Like, it's recoverable. If one team can score that many points at half time, then the other team can in theory. But yeah.
So we sort of mentioned it, like, but the fact that they were still able to rotate players in and out to keep them well rested for mixed and the final coming up and stuff. And the players that were coming on were really good at grinding out the sets and making England have to work for it. Like it's honestly, it is the textbook of dodgeball now. It really, really is.
Yeah, and then going into that final, I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, I have my opinions on it. I think Northern Ireland just looked really good the entire way through. I absolutely love the Austrians. I love the Austrian men's team as well. I just thought Northern Ireland looked solid all the way through. And when I was watching it, it felt like Austria could come back at any moment, but Northern Ireland, I felt, had it a bit more in hand and had that extra level to go. I think what was interesting, like watching it in the stands, was seeing, I think it was McElroy, I could be wrong, was Josh. In the coach. Yeah, it was in the coach's box, and at the beginning he was in kit, so I thought, oh, maybe he'll just sub in at some point. Turns out no, because he was injured. But like I was like fully expecting him to come on at some point. Like I thought maybe they were going to go for a tactic of let's let some players rest the first few sets and then come on later. Having analysed what the Austrians are doing, and then just like go at it. No. They stuck with pretty much the same squad all the way through. I mean, it was a cracking final. But considering last year it came down to like 1 second to split the final, and this year this was the least close final of the three.
It was 12-10 with 5 minutes left. Yeah, like it's not like this was a runaway for NI. Like it wasn't comfortable until Austria needed to force some sets. It was the set around the 5-minute mark where and I took it to 14-10, and Austria, I don't know if panic's the right word, but they definitely tried to force the sets a bit more. They tried to up the aggression, and I were just able to absorb it and came away for the last couple of minutes comfortable winners. But I wouldn't say it was a comfortable win.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It sort of seemed as if there was that some moment around 5 minutes before the end where like Austria realize that they need to actually get into the lead if they want to win this. And because of that, they kind of start playing a little bit more dangerously, which could have worked out for them, but it didn't. And I think that's the tricky thing when you get to that situation in a game where you're maybe one set behind and you've got a few minutes left in the game, and you have to win a couple sets now in a row to actually have a chance of winning the thing. And suddenly that means you have to play a little bit more dangerously. You have to take those chances when they're there, and that's just purely rolling the dice, which means it's a lot more out of your hands. But it's the only thing you can do in that situation. So I think Austria read it correctly. I just think they were outclassed, and I were in a position where they didn't have to force it. Whereas
They love that.
did. Yeah, exactly.
There's-
And I
if-
were
if there's-
happy. They just sat there. They did their game. They switched out their players as they needed to, and they just kept control of the game the whole way through. And Austria, to be fair to them, like you said, I think they weren't panicking. I don't think for most of the game they were still in control.
It's harsh. It's harsh to say panicking.
Right up until about 5 minutes before the end, and then they're like, okay, if we keep going the way that we've been going, we're not going to win it. So we need to change something, and we need to see if that works, and it doesn't.
Yeah, and NI or that team that because of how well disciplined they are, they're happy to be up in a set and just see it out playing those safe singles and just wait for the opportunities to arise. Like they never freak out. They never worry that the opportunities are going to disappear, especially early in the sets. Like it's so good to watch. I love it. I really do. It's the fact that not many teams are able to play both sides of dodgeball where you have to be aggressive or you have to be defensive. Like they're able to, at the flick of a switch, change their style of play and do it so well. Not many teams can do that. If you ask a team, like most teams in Super League, to switch from being super defensive team to being super aggressive, like they just panic. They don't know how to do it. They're either one style or the other, right? But they're just so able to like swoon in and out of it, like dodgems almost. Like it's class. I love it.
Nah, it was a class game. Really class final and a really class showing from Northern Ireland, which in hindsight it just made, like, who could have doubted them? Like when you watch them play all the way through, there was definitely a sense of foreboding of like, this Northern Ireland team looks strong. Like they look really strong, like all the way through. Not that England or Austria didn't, but yeah, I think just that semi-final performance was unbelievable. I feel like I need to watch that Switzerland Northern Ireland game back now, because with how Switzerland did against Austria, like I know how Switzerland played against them and you know, sort of tactics they used, but I'm kind of curious to see how they helped, you know, how they then went about the game against Northern Ireland, because you know, Switzerland are a good outfit. We know they're good enough to play against these teams and take it to them. So I'm just curious as to how that game went. So definitely we'll watch that one back.
I'm slowly converting you to being a Swiss fan. It's going to happen.
I mean,
Swiss are going to be the new Wessex Wolves for the Europod.
Nah, I mean, you gotta take my love away from the Austrian and Italian women teams, because man, we'll get onto the.
Oh, he's now added the Italian women into it, right? Okay.
Hey, we were talking like they played well, but I mean, also I'm a big fan of the Austrian men as well. Like, I think the Lighting of Brothers played incredibly in that final. But yeah, really, really great final. So congrats to Northern Ireland on that one. Any final thoughts before we go on to actual, like, overall placings?
No, it was good. Yeah. Well done to France. I think still amazed that France got as far as they did, and I feel like I haven't had as much of a chance to watch back the footage because of something that happened with the YouTube channel. So I haven't quite gotten the chance to watch back all of France's matches, but I don't think I can tell you, clearly I didn't expect France to do that well, because I didn't predict them to get even to the quarterfinals, and they made it all the way through the semis, so it's massive from them, for their men's team to do that well, because we talked a lot in the predictions about the women's team. I think the French men, we just didn't really feel like we knew anything about, and it didn't feel as if they stood out, and at things like the Paris Open, it felt as if they'd been kind of shown up by some of the British sides, but they did really, really well in that tournament to come where they did. And they weren't lucky wins either, right? Like beating Czechia, they played really well against in all their matches beforehand. Was it Czechia or Italy?
Yeah, no, it was
Czechia.
Czechia.
We predicted Italy, got it wrong.
Yes, that was it. sorry, that's why I'm getting muddled. But
All right,
they
stop
beat
rubbing it in, Nick.
Hey, we're bad at predictions. What can I say? Yeah. So on to the final results. Northern Ireland with the gold medal, Austria silver, England in bronze. England with that replay against France from the group stages. It was a lot closer in that third, fourth match than in the group stages. Good game, good game. But I think England were the better team, and
I think England's heads had also dropped a little bit. I think England are the kind of team that when they find themselves in a third place playoff, aren't happy with winning or losing. They don't want to be there. They're just going to be unhappy the entire match. You could tell by some of their faces, and so I think they played a little bit worse. And France obviously stepped up massively because they knew what was on the line. But 21-9, pretty good scoreline for England anyway. Would have liked it to be closer.
So Czechia came fifth, so they were top of the fallout of the quarterfinal losses. With Italy sixth, Switzerland seventh, and Sweden eighth of that little playoff, which I kind of think is surprising because Switzerland came sixth last year, right?
Yes.
And I can't remember who Switzerland played on the way to the, after they lost in their quarterfinal, who they played next. But I think Italy have done really well to come sixth there.
Yeah, I think they played France in their last match. I can't remember before that, but that was the match that... No, not in their last match.
They couldn't have played France because France...
Yeah, no, France was the match. Yeah, last Euros, not this year.
Oh, last year, right, sorry.
Switzerland beat France to go up into the fifth or sixth playoff. So it would have been interesting to see France against Switzerland this year round, and yeah, didn't quite happen. That's not how it crumbled, but...
No, but impressive for Czechia to get up to fifth. I think that's an improvement on last year. I can't remember where they finished last year, but definitely a step up all the way to fifth. Italy, Switzerland, Sweden, and then you see Wales and Scotland topping out the 9th to 12th battle with Belgium and Spain, which is weird to say that they were in the 9th to 12th battle with Belgium and Spain. They'd probably want to have done better than that. But yeah, they... I think deservedly finished at the top of the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th battle. Yeah. But definitely a lot of improvements needed by them. Big congrats to Belgium and Spain though for getting the 11th and 12th. Like that's really good on them to getting into those positions. And Hungary weren't that far behind in my opinion. Like you were saying, Colin, earlier, they have some of the ability to do so. But I think some of these teams lower down here, like this is where we get into the point of, depending on what group you get put in, you can really see different positionings happening in the future, different results going different ways. So, Norway didn't come last either. They beat Croatia as well. So to come two from bottom. And
Denmark nearly managed to get a win against Hungary in this stage as well. Close. It was one set off in the end. But that would have been an amazing result from Denmark to beat Hungary, considering how close Hungary came to doing some real damage.
I think that was a 3-minute overtime set. I could be wrong, but I think that was an overtime set.
It might have been.
So Denmark beat Ireland in the end to finish 15th, but nearly put themselves in that 13th, 14th, which, I mean, for a first time showing,
that's massive.
Very impressive. I did get to speak to some of the Danes, and it was interesting finding out that dodgeball has been in Denmark for a while, just been playing no sting, the American format, which is great to hear.
I heard that as like one word. And I was like, what's nothing?
The European continent languages. It was like, we don't understand any of this.
The Nordic version of dodgeball.
God. But a bit like how was it? Is it Norway that started from the cafe and they played foam as well?
Norway played foam. Foam and no sting aren't the same.
Yeah, no, I know they're not. But in terms of like countries that play dodgeball but are just oblivious to the fact that a EDF exists and everyone else is playing cloth and there's this whole Euros competition.
But to be fair to Norway, there are at least some countries that play foam. Why is Denmark playing no sting?
I mean, from what I understand, There was a guy that came over from America who was either coming over from like a year in industry or whatever, was in Denmark. It was just like, hey, does people want to play dodgeball? And then they sort of handed it over, and then they kept on playing those things because that's what they knew. So,
I respect
reverse
that.
colonization, fantastic.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Moving on from the political stuff. That came out of nowhere. I was not expecting that.
I do also respect in Congress will basically turn around and being like, does anyone want to play a no-sting competition? And everyone be like, no, obviously not. None of us have ever played this form of dodgeball. What's wrong with you?
That means they're the number one no sting European team. Congratulations.
Exactly.
You're the champs in our hearts.
Yeah, you can have that.
We get them a trophy from the EDF. I'd genuinely be down for that. It's not my decision to make, but I'd be down for it.
I feel like the participation applause, like, well done, you won a game, and it's just like, well done, you won no sting.
At least I wanted to give him a trophy.
I'll laminate it for them, don't worry. We're dealing with quality here. But yeah, no. Really good competition, I think. I think that actually brings us to the end of men's. I don't think there's anything else, unless anyone else has any thoughts on any of the other positional games that you want to discuss.
Well
I can't
done.
remember. Can't really remember off the top of my head of any other positional games for men's that were really cracking. But if you do know some, put it in the comments and let us know, because Coleman has just discovered watching dodgeball at 1.5 speed, and it really helps to get through those games. It really speeds it up. But yeah, no.
I wish I knew this before I was preparing for this pod.
Yeah, especially helps if you're like watching it in the background, because then you don't have the audio as well, so you're just like, 1.5 is fine. But yeah, right, let's finish this off then. Hey, I haven't touched this graphic since like months ago, and it still works. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Go follow us on all the social medias. Give us a subscribe if you can. We're so close to 200 subscriptions, so that'd be great on YouTube. Also, just a big thanks to everyone who listened and watched our previews video. Absolutely blown away by the response it got. Like the amount of people who were liking it and watching it. It was it's crazy to see those numbers. So love you guys for doing that. And yeah, go find the other podcasts about European dodgeball on our channel, because we've got quite a few at this point.
Do you think wouldn't be correct on this? It's like you said, you're surprised that this is still accurate. Our nationalities haven't changed. Nick.
No, so I was worried that
Nick's becoming Swiss, Austrian, and Italian.
Did you not know?
Whoever proposes to him first.
Nick is the Central European Championships.
It says it right there. In dodgeball format. No, I was worried that the video placement would be in the wrong place for the name.
Okay.
So yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, like and subscribe.
All right. Bye.